if he did come back, do you think he'd still be himself on the field?
I actually can relate to that because I know I dealt with a hamstring injury last year when I was out for 2 months. And when I came back, I immediately knew that I was not the same type of player that I was. Like my 100% was not 100%.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to Ekeler's Edge. I'm Liz Loza, and this is, of course, Chargers running back, fantasy football superstar, and athleisure wear model, Austin Ekeler.
Athleisure wear model. Wow. Something new every week. I love it. Welcome back, everyone. Looking forward to the day.
Yep, we got a great show for you. We'll preview the Chargers matchup with the Eagles, play a game of fantasy fact or fiction, and dive into the unfortunate injury of Austin's fellow running back, Derrick Henry. All right, Austin, we got to get into it. Last Sunday, your Chargers lost a tough one, 27-24 to the Patriots.
Yeah, they just played a better game than us that day, flat out. They played more disciplined than we did. We made more mistakes than they did, and, that's kind of like the typical Patriots. What are they most known for? Making the least amount of mistakes and letting you kind of beat yourself. That's something we got to learn from.
While you didn't get the outcome you were hoping for your team, your fantasy managers had to be happy. You totaled 124 scrimmage yards and a score.
Yeah, hey, that's kind of what you're going to get. I feel like that's got to be like my typical game. I feel like a typical game for Austin's like 50 yards receiving, 50 yards, rushing, and maybe a touchdown in there or something. Obviously, I need to do more for my team because we're still losing. So it's like, hey, how can I, extend that one play here and there, which my fantasy owners, including myself, because I am my own owner in one of my fantasies, will like a little bit more.
Last week when we recorded on Tuesday, you said your ankle was feeling better, but then on Wednesday, this hip issue popped up. Can you take us through your week and how you're feeling now as you head into week 9 at Philly?
Yeah, it was really strange. So just through the season in the NFL, as I've learned, you kind of just always feel bumped up. And so I had some bursa injury on my right hip that was injured. It was inflamed, and
a bursa? What is it?
A bursa sac, some type of fluid lubricant thing that's in your body that helps your joints and body just not be stiff, I guess. Regardless, mine was inflamed, had more fluid in that area than usual, and then I practiced on Wednesday, and then Thursday, I just literally could not lift my leg up past 90 degrees. I was like, something's wrong with my leg. Like, I told my trainer, I texted my trainer that night. I was like, man, I got to come in the morning, and I have to get this looked at by the doctor because something is wrong with me. And went in there, and for the entire week, was not able to move it. They're like, oh, it's bursa, it's inflamed. It might have moved into a hip or it's pressing on nerves. And so I ended up just getting like a numbing shot just to see if that would work. And I think it might have relieved some muscle in there or some fluid. I'm not even sure. But after I got my numbing shot, my leg felt way better, felt normal, and so I was able to play in the game because of it. And, some things you just kind of don't ask questions, you just roll with it. And that was one of those.
Are you feeling good now, or does it still feel sore? Are you worried about any inflammation heading into the week?
Yeah, I actually told my trainer, I was like, look, this is actually the best that I've felt, since before my ankle.
Wow.
Your boy Austin is feeling good right now, so looking forward to this week of fantasy for sure.
Oh, we love it. He's feeling good. He's given us an over of 100 total yards and a score. All right, then let's talk about week 9. The 3-5 Eagles are coming off of a 44-6 dusting of the winless Lions. But so far this season, the Eagles' run defense has been extremely generous to opposing running backs. They're giving up over 30 fantasy points per game. So is it safe to say that you should have an opportunity for a big day this Sunday in the city of brotherly love?
Hey, I would always like to say that it's an opportunity for a big day anytime we're able to step on the field. Definitely looking forward to a big day, whether it's in the running game, pass game, just any way in general.
All right, let's take the over then. The over on Austin, 100 total yards and a touchdown at Philly in week 9. Love it. I'm going to give you a player in a situation, and you can tell me if my statement on said player is a fact or a fiction.
All right, sounds easy enough.
All right, we're going to start with the Titans quarterback Ryan Tannehill. Tennessee, of course, lost Derrick Henry, the NFL's rushing leader, to a major foot injury last Sunday. Tannehill is in the top 10 in the league in passing yards, but you tell me if this is fact or fiction. Ryan Tannehill will carry the Titans offense without Derrick Henry starting week 9 at the Rams. and produce for his fantasy managers.
Look, he doesn't have his big brute in the back anymore who can, just run through people and scoring these long touchdowns and keeping the chains moving, falling for, 4 or 5 yards every single play. They picked up Adrian Peterson. They're still going to rely on the run game. You have to be able to run the ball. You have to have some type of balance, but I do think Ryan is going to be tested, and I'm going to say fact. I'm going to say fact that he's going to be able to carry them. And the reason is because he's, for the most part, been taking care of the ball, and his receivers around him are playing well too.
I absolutely hear you on all that. I feel a lot better about the situation, frankly, if Julio Jones was healthy, because it's been awesome to see A.J. Brown performing at such a high level. But this matchup against the Rams is rough. I mean, the Rams pass rush is no joke. They got 25 sacks on the season, the league leader in sacks, in fact. And meanwhile, Ryan Tannehill has the 4th most of any quarterback. So ultimately, if I had the choice, I'd like to avoid him because of the matchup in week 9. But it doesn't really matter if he wins or loses for his personal team as long as he wins for fantasy managers. And I think you're right, Austin. There is fact here. He's going to have to open up this offense. He's going to have to pass a lot more. And so I do think he will produce for fantasy managers through the end of the year. Next is Miami Dolphins wide receiver Devontae Parker, who returned from injury in week 8 to post 8 receptions for 85 yards on 11 targets in week 8 at Buffalo. So fact or fiction, fantasy managers can believe in Miami's Devontae Parker for the rest of the season, starting with week 9 against the Texans.
One thing that you hear me talk about a lot is consistency. Consistency. How consistent are you? Really, that's what it comes down to in the NFL and in fantasy as well. And what do you want to see from your fantasy players? So every time they get the ball, hey, they make something happen. And I think that's been, the case with Devontae. And he's coming off an injury, but, he had a good game last week as far as fantasy. And, I think he's going to give them a viable option to continue to, move the ball down the field. Fact.
Yeah, I am agreeing with fact. I think Devontae Parker deserves to be in the wide receiver 3 conversation as long as he's healthy. What's interesting is that last year, Tua was reluctant to throw to Devontae Parker because he's a contested catch specialist, and that means squeezing the ball into a tighter window. But this year, you've seen Tua actually reach for Devontae Parker. You see him get 11 targets against a really good Bills defense, and I think that he's going to continue to produce as long as he's on the field. And finally, since coming over from the Panthers prior to week 4, Jaguars tight end Dan Arnold has become one of Trevor Lawrence's favorite targets, averaging 7.6 targets over the last 3 weeks. So fact or fiction, the Jags' Dan Arnold can continue his recent success against the tough Bills D in week 9.
I feel like just coming into any new offense, especially during the middle of the year, is definitely got to be hard, but I think he's done a good job getting himself acclimated. Obviously, he's been getting some attention. They've been throwing him the ball. Trevor Lawrence is starting to believe in him a little bit more and actually come back to him. He's going to have a tough matchup coming in against the Bills, but I think he's going to be one of their go-tos, especially when it gets down the red zone. I know the Bills are pretty good against the tight ends down in the red zone, but I'm believing in him. I'm believing in him because they need some help over there, and I'm hoping he makes a play for him.
Yeah, I think you're right. I am agreeing as well. I am going with fact. I know that the matchup, as you mentioned, is tough. The Bills have only given up 2 touchdowns to the tight end position, but here's the thing. The only thing that has been consistent about the Jags, and you mentioned consistency, right, is Dan Arnold. He is proving to be the security blanket that this rookie quarterback, in fact, needed, and so he's seeing regular targets. I don't love the matchup, so I'm not going to rank him inside the top 10 at the position. But when you've got guys like TJ Hawkinson and Rob Gronkowski and Ricky Seals-Jones on bye, and you need a spot start, I think that Dan Arnold is a very decent choice. As we said earlier in the show, the NFL's rushing leader, Derrick Henry of the Titans, suffered a Jones fracture in his right foot last Sunday in Indianapolis. There's no timetable for his return, but reports put it anywhere between 6 to 12 weeks. According to our Tyler Greenwald, the 6'5", 250-pound Henry was on pace to become the first player to break the 500-touch threshold in a season, rush for more than 2,000 yards in back-to-back seasons, and become the first running back since Walter Payton's sweetness to lead the NFL in rush attempts for 4 straight seasons. I gotta take a breath after all of that. Austin, when you hear numbers like that, as a fellow star running back, I mean, what comes to your mind?
I mean, for me, just ouch, ow, like my body's like, oh man, like, because I know myself, I could not handle that. My body definitely hurts after games, and I don't take nearly the load that he does. But man, the fact that he was able to do what he's been doing, it's a huge hit to the league. How much attention he was growing and actually just providing to the league because of how well he's playing. Just one of those anomaly players that you love to watch.
As a fellow star running back, do you think he could come back from this sort of injury this season?
The last thing you want to do is come back early, and hopefully his teammates tell him that too, and hopefully he's in the right space where it comes to that, because if you come back early and then re-injure it, then you're just right back where you started. I'm saying, yeah, but it's probably going to be towards the end of the year, it's looking like.
Yeah, return to sport is different than return to previous play, right? So if he did come back, do you think he'd still be himself on the field?
I actually can relate to that, because I know I dealt with a hamstring injury last year when I was out for 2 months. And when I came back, I immediately knew that I was not the same type of player that I was. Like, my 100% was not 100%. This guy's an anomaly, so who knows? Maybe he loses a step, but he's still, way out in front of everybody. So there's no telling. But the only thing I would say is, yeah, man, just make sure you get that thing healed up. That would be my advice, and I'm sure he's getting the same from a lot of people around him.
And that's going to do it for this edition of Ekeler's Edge. We've got Austin going over 100 total yards and scoring in Philadelphia, in case you weren't paying attention. We also played a little fact or fiction, so keep track of that. And, of course, we discussed the Derrick Henry injury, which we will continue to monitor here on Yahoo Sports.
Good luck, everyone out there, and let's do it.